My bet is you're in one of these two places, and I'm really curious as to which one you connect with the most. Either you are a person in retirement age, empty nesting, some phase of 50s, 60s, and beyond. Maybe you are sitting in retirement, near retirement, maybe you're an empty nest, maybe you're somewhere in your 50s, your 60s, or beyond, and my guess is that you might be feeling some level of loneliness. Maybe you're feeling disconnected from people and perhaps even with yourself because you don't have the same routine or structure that you had when you had to go to work every day, or when you were caregiving for your children, or even doing some of the sandwich stuff of caregiving for your parents and your children, even for adult children. And you're just feeling sad and separate. Or you might be like me, where you were alone a lot of the times, but you don't feel lonely. Or you're with your partner and you're totally satisfied as is. Which one of those feels the most like you? Whether you are currently not lonely at all, or if you are extremely lonely and really feel like you need some help. Okay, this video is for both of you, and hang on for a minute because I'm about to give you some statistics, current statistics about loneliness, as well as a way you can be a solution to the loneliness epidemic. Loneliness is not something that is a problem that needs to be solved or something that needs to be cured because something is wrong. Instead, loneliness is something that happens due to circumstances that may not be something we can control. I started researching loneliness in 2018, and I was speaking a lot on the subject, and I knew a lot about loneliness, and part of that was because I was feeling really lonely. If you've been following me for a while, you know that in 2019, my life took a real drastic turn because of a near-death experience. Since then, my life has changed many times over, and during that time, there was some loneliness, even when I was with many people. Now, I'm mostly alone, and I hardly feel lonely at all. So I feel like I have a large swath of both personal perspective, grounded with research, and grounded in true optimism. Let's get down to some real statistics. In a Harris poll in 2024 and 2025, it was found that up to 6 American adults feel regularly isolated, alone, and left out. This isn't something that was made up. This is something that is true. And this is not going to be a video that will give you 3 top tips for no longer being lonely, because this isn't just a person who's lonely. This isn't just for them. This is about connection, because connection belongs to all of us. We all play a part in building a connected society, especially right now when things can be so divisive. It is critically important that we become a community of people in the world who leave ourselves open to connection, perhaps at times that we might not have recognized before. Be sure to stay till the end, because I have a special experiment, a special thought, something that you can try in your own life. And whether or not you're lonely, or you're one of those people like me who isn't lonely, a person who has been lonely, a person who is deep in it right now, there'll be a little nugget or piece for you to use and apply right away to help make this world a less disconnected, a less lonely place. I have a couple stories that I will tell you that happened recently in the last week when I was in Amherst, Massachusetts. I wasn't here in my cozy little comfy town that I know and where lots of people know me, and I have a lot of friends, but it was in a place where I knew no one. I was just wandering about, doing my thing, living my life, and I was able to practice what happens when we pay attention and open the door for connections to occur. Even if you're introverted, there is something in here for you. I know, you all think probably that because of how I show up on camera that I'm an extrovert. I am not an extrovert. I'm an ambivert, meaning I love lots of people and I also love quiet. I love being alone. And in fact, I need to oftentimes take times away from people so that I can be restored. The other thing is, yes, I'm friendly, but I also have a history with depression. So with that in mind, it often is really difficult for me to reach out. Please listen as I tell these 2 different stories so you can see how you might have fit into the story itself. The first story is when I was sort of adopted by a friend group, totally unexpectedly. I was at the Emily Dickinson Museum and I was waiting for a concert to begin. I was sitting on a bench with my notebook open, just watching the people and enjoying the wait. This is something it feels very introverted to do. Oftentimes I use my notebook as a method of self-protection because if you're busily writing, then it sounds bad. People won't necessarily engage you in conversation. So that's an introverted side of me. So as I was sitting there underneath a tree on a wooden bench that belongs to the museum, and these two older women came along and they were setting their chairs up. The older of the two women wasn't happy with the chairs. She didn't think they'd be comfortable. I could tell she was kind of like upset about the whole situation. One of the women walked away, leaving one woman by herself, and she approached me and she asked me if I was part of the outfit putting the event on. And I said, no, I'm not a part of the museum. She said, oh. And then she went on to say that she wasn't comfortable with the situation that her friend left her with. She didn't like how the chairs were working. And so I looked next to me on this wooden bench and I said, well, would you like to sit here with me? There was space for her where she could sit. And she looked. There was no slant to the ground. She didn't like the slant to the ground. She felt unsteady and she was older. She probably had balance issues. And she said, well, yes, I will. So she sat down next to me. Her friend came back, saw that she had found a new place to sit that made her more comfortable. So then she moved her chairs to my other side. So here I was in the middle of this friend group, in the middle of this conversation. And let me tell you, the fact that they were open to me made the concert experience entirely different than it would have if I was there alone, even though I was alone. Because I was open to these people and they were open to me, we created incredible connection. It could have gone entirely differently if I had just said, oh, gee, it's a bummer you don't like those chairs, lady. Instead, I'd set myself up for a nice introverted night. I could be with Emily, who's like the queen of introverts, if you know anything about Emily Dickinson. And so I was thrilled with this thought. Turned out very differently, and I'm so grateful that it did. There you saw an introverted person, not lonely at all, open to humanity, connected and helped solve a problem, and wound up having a really great evening as a result. I had no thought that these people were going to be lifelong friends. I'm not from Amherst, so I'm not from Amherst. We're probably not going to stay in touch. We didn't exchange information, and that was cool. It was that feeling of connection that made me feel no form of isolation at all. Okay, second story, different, same town. I was having breakfast alone in a coffee place, you know, your typical New England coffee house in a smart artistic community. So I'd ordered my food. I was sitting at a two-top, which is a table for two people, and there was a two-top table next to me. This was like not a restaurant where they have waiters and waitresses. It's a restaurant where you order at the front, and then you go get your coffee, you go pick up your food, etc. I noticed that there were lots of people there who knew each other. There was a lot of people waving, a lot of people meeting each other. It was really kind of nice. Even though I was alone, again, I had my notebook with me, and I had books to read, and I had stuff to do. But I like being around people, especially when I'm traveling alone. Sometimes it feels good to be around people. So there I was in this restaurant. There was a Mother Teresa quote on the wall, and it went like this. The problem with the world is that we draw the circle of our family too small. The problem with the world is that we draw the circle of our family too small. I had written that quote in my notebook when I was sitting there at my little table. I had noticed also, because I was people watching, this man walked in and he was very ebullient, and he said to the cashier something about his family circle was too small, and so he was happy to meet these people here in the restaurant, meaning the people who are working there. And I thought to myself, oh, here's someone who is very friendly and who probably wants conversation. So I just kept going about my business. I got up to, the other thing is when you're in a new place, you need to learn the culture. And So apparently at this place, I took my plate with my leftovers to the place where you put your dishes and things in your silverware. And so I walked up and I was about to put it in, and I realized, oh, they scrape their plates first. So I scraped my stuff carefully and painstakingly into the trash. I had to dig my silverware back out to do the scraping. Then I put it back, put it away, and I sat down on my seat. In the meantime, the same gentleman was sitting at the two top away next to me, and he was diagonal to me. And he said, wow, that plate looked really delicious. And I said, oh, it was really delicious. Refilled my coffee, came back and sat down and put away all my electronics. Just had my notebook, had my cup of coffee, took a drink. You see what I did there? I created an opening for this very friendly person, more friendly than I. I didn't care if I had a conversation that day. However, I felt like he really wanted to have a connection. So we started talking, and it went from small talk to Mother Teresa, to theology, to estrangement, to life in general, to some people showing up that he knew from Amherst. He was just visiting too, but he had friends. He was from Amherst for a long time. He and his friends got into a really happy conversation, and I figured this is my time to leave. So I quietly packed up my things and I left with the intention of, I would just seem like that magical being who appeared. I'd kind of cast myself in a Hallmark movie. Julie, magical being, showing up on the streets of Amherst, and off I went, invisibly. I'll never know what happened to Bill. I knew his name was Bill. Never know what happened to him. These are ways that I was working on being connected. Now, chances are, even though Bill was super friendly, I also know from being a somewhat friendly person that sometimes the place where we feel the loneliest is in big crowds. I also knew that I can carry on a conversation with literally anyone, anywhere, anytime. That is a gift, and it's a choice, because I certainly don't have to do that. Just like I don't have to follow the culture and scrape off my plate, because it just feels right and kind and thoughtful. So oftentimes on videos like this, we turn this over to the lonely person and we kind of make it their problem to solve. Oftentimes these videos are called something like 3 tips to be less lonely. And they say things like, join a club, go to this activity, etc. And if you're an introvert, the thought of going to a place where you don't know anyone, I don't like doing that, and I'm not an introvert. It is hard to go to new places. It is difficult to go into a room where everyone knows everyone else except for you. So to put that upon the person who is either lonely or not in the best state of mind, like I was when I was experiencing depression and loneliness, the thought of going to a place cold, however, when we all collaborate and connect and are thoughtful, kind, attentive, and notice, this is where we can overcome divisiveness, where we can stop worrying about where we connect and where we don't connect, and instead just build that bridge to connection with other people. When I put my things away and sat and took a sip of my coffee, it was a way of me saying, I have space for you. I am open to you talking to me. I am not having my head down on my phone. I am creating a bridge. When I noticed Barbara's discomfort, the lady at the Amherst concert, and she asked me, are you with this outfit? It was almost like she was saying, are you someone who might be able to ease my discomfort? And while I was not officially a part of the organization of the Emily Dickinson Museum, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, I was a member of the human community and am a member of the human community. And if someone has a simple situation where I may ease her discontent, then I will do that. Well, you may sit with me if you'd like to, if that's your choice. Sometimes this connection can be as simple as a smile, a nod, a noticing, oh, you're human and you're alive and you're with me in the same room. A few moments ago, I said that there would be an experiment we each could do. So here it is for each of us. Are you ready? If you tend towards the extroverted, or if you're a person who is not lonely and is comfortable befriending others, be the initiator. Start the conversation. Ask the person to do something with you, or sit with you, or talk with you, or ask their opinion. Ask where they're from. In fact, the question, where were you raised, is a great connection question, and one that I have used in social situations more than I could ever tell you, and it can take the conversation all over the place. So if you're comfortable initiating, initiate. If you are a person who tends toward being lonely, here's your assignment. See if you can leave a door open. I know this might be scary. This might sound like too much right now. The way that I left the door open in the coffee shop was I put away my electronics when I saw a person nearby who I knew was very friendly. Leaving the door open can be as simple as asking a question and a comment on YouTube. That's leaving a door open. In person, it means that when you're walking along and see someone, instead of averting your eyes, looking away, take a breath and look at the other person and nod. Let them know that you see them. That's leaving the door open. There's other ways too. In fact, if you can think of a way to leave the door open, put it in the comments. If you can think of a way to make someone feel comfortable, put that in the comments. And then go out in the world and try this out. Come back and share the story of what happened. Better yet, make a video in response and tell the story of what happened. If we can do, this is kind of like I'm opening the door and I'm creating a bridge, because I'm asking you to create something, to follow up with something. Because remember, loneliness is not the lonely person's problem to solve. Connection and belonging is something for all of us to practice. It's something for all of us to build upon. And in this time when there's so much disunity, creating connections can help dissolve those barriers. And what a better way to live your life than building bridges, creating connections, making people feel like they belong and are worthy. Whether you are lonely or not lonely, I'm so grateful that you are here, because you belong here. You are connected here. The people who will comment, this community is phenomenal. Please do, as a matter of fact, leave a comment. Maybe that's one of your ways to open the door. Leave a comment. Let us know a little bit about what you're thinking about this video. So grateful for your watching, and I'm so excited to see you on the next video. And if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, do that before you go.